not in front of you all. Welcome everyone to Mobify. I'm Isabel Bamber, community builder here, and tonight we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the responsible. This is a format that's very raw. We're going to have honest conversations, not talk about the fluff and the hype and etc. And we have an extraordinary panel of 4 ladies that come from the Women in Digital community that we launched last year at Mobify. And we have Amélie Beerens, so she is CX and EX consultant and leadership coach. And Amélie will lead this conversation. And here on my right, the 3 ladies is Maïté Poublon, Beatrice Costa, and Clementina Gentile, sorry. And Amélie will give more of an introduction on them 3. So without further ado, Amélie, the floor is yours.
Hi. Thank you, and good evening, everybody. I'm very happy to be with these ladies tonight, and yes, we're gonna have a real conversation. These 3 experts, they are coming from very different contexts, different industries, and yet it's only one unique conversation we're gonna have, and we are going to talk about the AI. The promise, not like a LinkedIn post or something, the real one, the one will focus on action. So let me introduce the 3 experts. First, Clementina Gentile. So she works for Digitaal Vlaanderen, the Flemish government's digitalization body, where she coordinates Sandbox Vlaanderen, a government initiative designed to foster bottom-up innovation in the public sector. Her day-to-day is helping teams identify real AI opportunities, turn them into concrete projects, and test them and make them real. Of course, with safety, ethic, and at scale. Then I'm happy to present to you Beatrice Costa. She is chapter owner at Proximus, leading a cross-functional team of designers, UX, UI, content, service design, really all experts working on digital experiences for enterprises and customers. And she uses AI hands-on every day to accelerate insights, improve personalization, and increase how fast and how efficient team can be. And then I am happy as well to present you Maïté Poublon. She's IT tribe lead at Alpha Credit, which is part of BNP Paribas group, the Belgian leader in consumer finance. She leads the development teams driving the evolution of tools across risks, finance, and HR. And a world, which she's going to talk way much better about than me, is about process optimization, automation, data strategy, and making sure none of it breaks under the weight of the compliance and the legal and security. So 3 women, and please give me a little applause to it's 3 women business, very different business. One conversation we have prepared for you. 3 topics that sounds very critical conversation, and I'm sure you will have questions about that during, but keep those questions for the end because we're going to open the conversation with you after we had their input. So the 3 topics is first a reality check. Let's really see what's going on with AI. I mean, for real here. Then the tensions. Yes, there are friction parts all around, but let's talk about those friction that nobody talk out loud. And then the responsibility. That might be the hardest. We'll see that together. And what it requires to be a good leader in practice in this era of AI. All right? So let's start. The first topic, the reality check. I have got some numbers for you because you hear a lot of all the magic AI can bring. I found other numbers. Plus 78% of business use at least AI in one of their business unit or business function, and plus 80% don't see any tangible results among them. That's overwhelmingly high. 20% of them only claim to achieve ROI, 67% are stuck in pilot phase of the project they started. Again, super high. Another number is less than 1% of the organization say that they are mature in AI. This is nothing, less than 1%. And the last number I have is 70% of the initiatives around AI fail. Okay, where is the magic in this? we don't have any magic here. So these figures, I found them into the McKinsey and Deloitte that have published research recently. And every week there is something new about that. So it is not delivering. A lot of promises and not delivering. So yeah, and yet we see pressure and pressure to adopt. We might feel already, I know I can feel that from time to time, that I've missed the train of AI. So what is it about? So, okay, Clementina, that is your daily life, AI. You sit inside an organization where that pressure is real. So what are you actually seeing into your job, into your organization?
As you said, I am in touch with different teams from different departments of the government, so very different governmental agencies. And what I notice is mainly two different approaches. There are teams who start like, okay, we got, for example, recently a co-pilot license bought for Flemish government agencies. And they started like, okay, we have AI, how can we use it for efficiency? And so they start mainly from the technology perspective, which is questionable, but it's what they do. And the positive aspect of that is that they then start some sort of innovation funnel to understand also bottom up, like, okay, what ideas live in the company or in the organization, and how can we link those ideas to indeed experiments, pilots, how can we grow them? But the path to actual implementation in that case is much longer, or it might fail to achieve business goals that are actually underlying in the organization. And the other approach is more like, okay, we have a problem, how can AI help us to solve that problem? And I will give a concrete example for that. Recently there was a network event from the AI Expertise Center within the government, and there were two really interesting use cases. One was from Deleuze, the bus company. They struggle also because of budget cuts to understand how to optimize the bus stops and the lines that they have. And they thought, okay, maybe we can use AI for that. But they actually went through a very long path of first proper data collection. So they first invested in hardware, cameras in all the buses, but also what other data are relevant for this type of analysis. So for example, weather data, tickets, the number of tickets that are bought and the traffic that they get from the tickets. So they start understanding first, okay, how do we get there? How do we invest in proper data quality first, and only then implemented something with iterations. And there we see actually gains in the way they implement the AI. Another example was from the Ministry of Finance. They have normally to audit a lot of subsidies that are delivered from the government, and it takes a lot of time manually to do that, to do the checks, and the checks are often done ad hoc, so they take a sample and they start checking, are there anomalies or so what they did is actually they rethought their whole auditing process by using AI, and they said, we completely automate the auditing and we make it via agentic AI, and we let actually the inspectors only do the hard work, which is the really difficult cases. But that's really meant rethinking completely their process and starting also there from the foundation, the data that they have. So we see two different approaches, but one leads more immediately. I would say more immediately because for the land it took 5 years, for example, but led more in a straight line, I would say, to results, and the other less. And what we notice also within the government is that it needs to be also guided in the sense of our AI Expertise Center also delivers guidelines around the full spectrum of things you need to take care when you implement an AI project. So it's strategies in there, infrastructure is in there, and data governance, but also the human aspect. What do you do with your employees that need to change their way of working to make sure that everyone sees the full spectrum of what needs to be done and not only the AI type.
Thank you very much. That makes me want to ask to Beatrice. You are in a product company. Do you recognize anything in your business that Clementina explained?
Yeah, for sure. Proximus, like we're trying obviously to embed AI a bit everywhere to service better our customer in a smarter way. That's what they expect by default, by being customers of other companies where AI is there to support them in smarter way to make their life more efficient as well. Especially if you look at telco, it can be tricky because they don't expect to spend too much time on us, you know, like they just want to have the things done fast and efficiently and have to move on with their business and their lives. They don't want to spend 1 hour on the portal to request a ticket for support. They just want to ask the question and then go and have their day. So definitely efficiency is a thing. Maybe the focus I want to put in the answer looks more within the company, because what I see for us, it's the pressure of adopting also internally in the way of working of the teams and the people of my team and of my colleagues. There is really pressure to not stay behind, to adopt as much as possible the knowledge on what are the latest tools and how can you be more efficient in your job, how can we better collaborate within each other, thanks also to AI. So that I see, we're building now the objectives for the years, for instance, and part of the objectives are highly related to AI, which is good and bad, I would say. I think it's kind of building a pressure in leaders sometimes to also the way you evaluate people, how do you evaluate performances. It's highly dependent on AI, I have the feeling now. And it can be done in different ways, I think. So we have to kind of be careful. I'm trying to be careful myself, for my team especially, that I don't cloud my judgment, you know, that I try to kind of find where AI is and what the person is. I don't think it's healthy anymore to try and do the split. It's so hidden and intertwined in the way we work that it should be that the way that we evaluate people is just a person in front of us, and this person is using the tools that they have access to, which is company tools or more open AI tools as well, which is normal. We all do that. And so I try to see still what's the value of the person, regardless of the AI tool they're using. So that's a bit the as is I see at Proximus. Of course, it depends, of course, on the style of leadership that I see in colleagues as well, but that's what I'm trying to do, at least for myself. And I think Proximus is pushing kind of in the right direction. We have, for instance, the Gen AI Heroes group, which is on voluntary basis. So if you're interested, you join. If you're not interested, then you just go on with your work and use AI for the extent that you prefer. But you're not pushed to, by default, having to be an expert on AI. I don't think it's even healthy in that sense, because we all have different interests and expertise and métier as well. I lead a team of designers and they all have different capacities and knowledges of their job, and maybe sometimes AI is useful, maybe not all the time for everything. So voila, that's a bit what I'm seeing, and I really hope that that's kind of reflecting on maybe also some of you listening and what other companies are experiencing right now. I'm really hoping to a better future collaboration with AI, that it's really purely healthy, that it's not pushing people to go beyond what's humanly possible for them, but just stick to what you like to do in your job, and then use AI to be more efficient, yes, to push maybe the boundaries of your job, but keep yourself where you are. Don't go and do something that you don't like just because the company is pushing you, or you want to not stay behind the market. I don't think that's a healthy way to use AI today.
Yeah. Being a human pace, actually. And Maite, you in your business, the stakes are very different. What do you see on your field?
So I'm happy because I don't feel the pressure. For sure, it will be a challenge. It will be part of our objective, and we know we will have to embrace AI. We are also still at in the phase of doing POCs and tests. So perhaps when we will have to scale, it will become more difficult and we will feel some pressure. Nevertheless, what I can see today can bring some efficiency, but as my teammate said, I think it's because we are also focusing on our objective. So, in my view, AI is a tool and a bit more than a tool, but the objective is not to implement AI, it's just to serve the objective you already have and to make evolve with the strategy. In BNPP group, it's financial sector, you have a lot of data and you play, well, you don't play, but you work with the money of people. So it's really spread into the teams that we won't do it with the strategy. And also, one of the important points is that we have to pay attention to the data quality. But if it's the one of the objective or the priority, it means we will let you time to pay attention to the quality of the data, because we are full of systems, sometimes really hard systems, managing data. But if you don't pay attention to the quality, it won't be okay. And also, it's finance sector, so I can tell you that the way to protect GDPR rules to be compliant is really important too. And so that's also one of the priorities. So I think we are going in the right direction. And as I explained, and then I can give some example. Also because we don't focus absolutely to implement AI, but mainly on how can we use AI to serve our objective. The example I know the best is in IT team, because it's my team. There we use AI for optimization. So I said we have a lot of system, we have a lot of compliance administration, because we have to, the maintenance of our system is really important, so we have a lot of documentation to do. And so what we do today, we use AI to automatize all the documentation. You know, you start from a good analysis, and then we have a lot of templates to fill in and so on, and we have succeeded to automate it, and we continue to work to improve it. Also, we are working in the finance sector, we are selling credits. We have a lot of people calling us. So from a business model point of view, that's a big challenge for Alpha Credit, because the more we do business, the more we have people calling us. I imagine it's the same for Proximus, and it's really, really expensive. And so that's a challenge, because we cannot hire people as we grow. And there we have a tool from an external company to manage all the calls, all the interaction with the customers. And we start to test AI agents to do some smart routing of the calls, also to forecast the workload and so on. So there we discuss it later. For me, when we work with AI agents, it's another kind of challenge in your team organization and so on. But that's really interesting and powerful. And perhaps the last example I can push to explain how we use it to serve our objective. In the credit sector, you have a really good competitive advantage when you are really good to calculate the probability of people who won't reimburse. So it's called the calculation of cost of risk, and it's using, since the beginning, a lot of data, a lot of modeling and so on. And there we have our teams doing the data modeling, but now we are trying to test model from AI and to compare the quality of the results and so on.
So a lot of tests. Is there something that really surprised you in those tests that you gave example?
For what I do with my team for the documentation, as I said, data protection is important. So in the NPP, we have our own conversational AI. And so I was thinking, oh, okay, it's also use a bit the system of external AI. But I was thinking, oh, perhaps if it's homemade, it's so huge, perhaps it won't be so good. And yes, in fact, that's really impressive. Oh, we can put dirty technical document in this tool, and it can create use cases we need for the tester, some scenario, and so on. So yes, I was surprised by the quality of our internal tool.
Hours one. Good. Thank you for those examples. I have some quick questions after each topic, because I think I might spice it up a little bit. And I would like you to answer with one sentence to my question. So what is the one thing that leaders got completely wrong about AI right now? Go ahead, please.
Jump straight to the implementation, thinking about the strategy and underestimating the change management and the legacy from the past.
Follow up on that. Really smart one. Yeah, I think for me it will be more to not over standardize when it comes to AI. Look at still who is in front of you and don't mirror your own expectations onto other people on how they should use and apply AI.
I always have to think about the first days of the digital transformation where people started putting just physical forms into PDF documents. And I find it really a bit the same trend in AI that people try to transfer or translate the process they have now into an AI process. And I think the strength of AI is more when you rethink completely your process and make AI, really gain efficiency in the way you work.
Thank you, thank you. Very interesting. So we see that there is a gap. It's not about the technology actually, but it's more about like the governance, the culture, the teams, and that's where the tensions also arise. And that's true, the culture. That's where it all happens. And you mentioned it already. Your team, the people in your team, and in the project. So let's move into the second topic. And yeah, when we prepared this, the first line was, yeah, how the people who are going to lose their job because of AI, and yeah, that's the first one, and we agreed to say it's kind of a distraction actually, and it prevents us to get to the real meat into this topic, and so I'm happy to ask first to Beatrice. Yeah, you work with designers, people who their job is really about understanding the human, the experiences, and it's, yeah, the tensions are very showing, and I'm very curious to know where those tensions are showing in your life.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think what I'm seeing, it's because you mentioned like losing jobs and fears of losing jobs. For me, it's not really that. It's really the fear of losing confidence in ourselves because of the wrong way of using AI. We rely maybe a little bit too much sometimes that we cannot even go further now because we didn't double check things with AI, and we shouldn't go there. And maybe that's one aspect of it. And the other aspect that I'm seeing in terms of tension is in the way we manage and relate to stakeholders. So my team of designers, they of course, biggest part of their job sometimes, unfortunately, is to manage stakeholders, right? They are the requesters of the work we do in the team. So we have to better understand those requests, where the objectives are, what do they want to achieve. And let's say that in those requests, AI is coming in now, much more than before. If before designers were the expert on design and the stakeholders were the expert on the business, now they're trying to kind of overlap a bit. So they come with the request and then they already say, well, actually ask AI a bit and I want to tell you what it's kind of suggesting me to do. So what do you think? I saw that happening. It's happening every day, kind of. And there's many different ways of reacting to it. I think you can be either afraid of it and say, oh, I'm going to lose my job. They're going to take it from me. A PO can do it as much as I can. But that's really not true. We know that because it's a superficial level. You can ask AI, can you do a wireframe for me? He will do it. But it's not a person. It will do it for you. But what's the cost of that? What's the quality behind it? So how do you react to it? That's the question that I ask as well to the people that come to me from my team, colleagues as well. And we talk about these topics and we say, well, then how do we act into this situation? Well, for me, either you respond with a bit of like, you feel offended and you say, well, that's my job, back up, let me do my thing. And then tension arise and you cannot really get out of it, and then it's not a good collaboration with your stakeholders. Or you recognize that it's the truth of today, people have access to the tools. They can ask the questions. They can build their own wireframes if they want to. It's a free tool, so they can try it out. So I would see the beauty of it instead, like maybe see it in a way that your stakeholder will be more involved with design, so you can co-create even more with that person. You can bring him in the workshop or bring her in the workshop and say, well, actually, you started seeing a bit of what my job is about. Let me fill you in the rest and kind of show you the deeper level of my knowledge, which is the beauty of being still the expert in the room. So that's what I try to stress a bit in saying, let's not lose ourselves into, oh, we're going to lose our jobs, because we're still the experts of our own topic, and it should be that way. But then let's not push back what's the reality of today, which is access to information, which is not equal to knowledge, by the way. So we should still kind of separate the two. But I just want to see it from the positive. Otherwise, it becomes a full tension, always on, you know? So that's a bit what I'm seeing.
Interesting, thank you. I have a question about evaluations then, because you mentioned, those tools are there, everything is happening. How do you evaluate properly the performance of people from your team who are using AI? How do you measure?
Good question as well. Well, when it comes to evaluation of performance, I think I touched upon it earlier slightly, but for me, looking where AI is not a thing. It's not even a topic for me. I still look at what the skills of the person are, what is the depth of the work, what is the added value the human is bringing, and then I know that some parts of it will be AI driven or generated. Of course, there are some maybe situation and tricky moments where you want to double check with the person that AI is not misused or overused or used with superficiality. So like you use it and then you don't cross-check the work that AI is presenting to you, that can be an issue. So if you stop that, that's where I maybe have my alarm on, that you do not rely too much on AI, that you still use your brain, that you still use your expertise, like I said before. That can be an issue. I don't see that happening very often, to be honest. I think we're coming to a moment now of AI where we're past the step where we didn't know what it was and we kind of had to explore it from zero. Now we are pretty much in a good base, all of us, especially in design. I think the knowledge is there. We could say the basics are there. So we're even more into the experimentation of deeper tools and not just the ChatGPT tool, but you know, we're past that. So I think I'm not in that concern right now. It's more like, I know it's gonna be there by default. I'm just gonna see what's the value added of the person at that point.
And there comes the maturity.
Yeah, because just to give a concrete example, like if we look at design practices, most common one maybe user research, right? You interview customers, you want to do your interviews, and then very easy, you have so many AI tools that can assist you in that. They can record the session, you can pull out all the recordings, reports, and then you have the report done. And then you give that to your stakeholders once again, right? Because you want to bring back the research results, which are the juice of the research that you do. So what did you discover? What do they have to apply to their portal, to whatever page you're redesigning? But if you don't revise that, if you don't add your touch to what the AI is presenting you, that's where you lose, I think, a bit of your expertise, the added value you bring on the room. It's how you revise the work that AI will kind of propose you. But again, I don't think it's a concern today. It's even more a push for the people that work in my team and my colleagues as well, to say, well, even more, like show where your value is. Because if you can add the spice to the report, it's because you have a brain, you have a human context to bring, you have connection with your PO, and you know what he or she is going to go after as a goal. So only a human can really do that, I think.
I believe so too. Interesting, thank you. I'd like to ask you, Clementina, because for you the stakes are very different. I mean, people can be hurt if there's some mistakes. So what do you see in your field?
Yeah, I think there is also in the government this aspect of we've got co-pilot licenses, but what do we do with it, right? So there is definitely that aspect that you also highlighted, and the fact that somehow for some people it's very difficult to imagine the use of this tool in their daily work because they were never used to, and it's a completely different way of working. And there, what also the AI Expertise Center did, which is I thought a very nice initiative, is they created the AI persona. So based on the role you have in the organization and based on the way you need to use AI. So let's say you need to use AI to rewrite text, or you need to use AI more to, or you are involved in a project where implementing an application with AI, your knowledge of the AI should be different. And the skills you need to acquire are different. So they try to combine the persona with the skills you need to acquire, and they try to make it like easy for people to understand, okay, if I want to use it like that, these are the basic things that I need to know, to make it easy or clear for people, and to ease in the path into using AI. And then we also have a similar community of people that on a voluntary basis can join the community and share best practices so that people learn from each other. This is, for me, the one aspect. The other aspect is indeed the responsibility more of putting AI products out there that are dealing with governmental services. And of course, it's a huge responsibility. This is, of course, highly also regulated. So there is a EU AI Act, which clearly classifies which kind of data or applications are allowed to use AI and which are not. So in a way, if you follow the rules, it's kind of logic, but yeah, it stays a very gray zone. And that's why they also have translated those EU rules more specifically into the French government context. And on top of that, yeah, there are a set of also guidelines on, for example, people that use it every day. Yeah, you can't put data of citizens in there, you can't put confidential documents. Even within Copilot, you need to be careful what you share and what you don't. So yeah, there are guidelines. The tension there is, of course, it's very difficult to check what people do with it, and whether this is respected on a like personal working level, on a more general application level. Of course, there are gates more in place to make sure that what we put out for the citizens is not indeed harming of sometimes it's not really harm, it's like some people are excluded from a service because of the choices that AI makes. So it's a multiple set of damages that you can do when using AI related to public services. So for example, if you are talking about subsidies, it could be that you exclude a target group from the right of having that subsidy if you're not careful with the algorithm. So it's it's very sensitive. But yeah, we try to go about it more in a regulated way, following the rules and making the rules explicitly contextualized for the regional context.
Learning by doing.
Yeah, and also, of course, if you do have applications that deal with sensitive data, like the risk assessment, they have also similar things in the government. What they do is also they use sandboxes, not my sandbox, but because it's a very confusing name, sandbox Vlaanderen, but more regulatory sandboxes or synthetic data where you test the application but with fake data. So you are not using real data of citizens, but you are using fake addresses or fake data to see what is the output of the tool and to assess whether it's indeed safe to use it in a real world.
Idea. Rumor has it that developers coding are kind of on the top list of what might be, replaced by AI. So, how is this tension handled in your team?
So we know it will certainly be the trend in the future, but we don't know yet exactly who, because we are at the beginning. But so what we do for the moment, so we first test, see what it brings or what are the impacts from an organizational point of view. We certainly do not have all the answer, because attention, I would like to highlight, I fully agree with what you said, but to add another point of view is also the relationship you can have with the labor. Because you said, what was the most impressive for you? I said it's our internal tool, but when you see a machine doing in 20 seconds what you are used to do in several hours, also the feeling can be a bit strange, So we don't know exactly, but we know it could be the trends, and that we know that for sure some function perhaps will disappear, but at least in the meantime it will change. So for me, what is important is to test step by step, but to really pay attention to that point of what is the impact on the engagement and the motivation of the team, because our relationship with what we were used to do will change. And also, so today we don't know, nevertheless we are aware of it. So we are more looking at the test and what does it mean from an organizational point of view to define trajectory and also the rhythm of the change in the structure of our team. So, and if we sometimes find some answer, we try to find some trajectory to accompany our team. And personally, but it's a general trend, what I always say to my team is, we can be afraid, it can seem scary, sometimes I feel it too, but for everything in my life, I decided I don't want to be afraid, because it's, for me, it's not a good idea to take good decision and to find your way. So we don't know exactly how fast it will move, how fast it will change, but we know it will change. So my advice is always embrace the change. And I do the same with my teenager at home. Try to be multitasking, to be open to new things, and to adapt yourself. And I put the same message to my team, because I think it will be difficult, certainly for the person that will stay blocked and say, no, I don't want to look at it, I don't want to adopt it. But in our management, decision, strategy, for sure we are starting to think about it. And for the moment, we think, because we have people that will leave, that will be retired, so perhaps they can play a role to play for some years, but you also pay attention to the people who have several years and that will see that change, or we can accompany them. And there are new roles that will be created too, so the idea is to accompany people and to reassure them for the moment.
Yeah, and we can see at Proximus with the example of Beatrice that actually it brings motivation to develop and show up with your expertise. So that's a very nice surprise. So I guess you can also observe that in your teams for certain profile. It's only the beginning. So
indeed, and I think we are all aligned that we have to embrace the change. So I don't feel some resistance. They just don't have the same maturity level, but the ones that are more advanced can help the other one, but they are all interested because they know they have to jump on it, and so they are learning.
Okay. Thank you. Very interesting. I have again a little question with a short answer from your part. There is one skill that is a non-negotiable for you about AI. Which one it is?
So for me, it's a bit related to what we said, is to have the 360-degree view. Because we said AI is a tool. I know Beatrice thinks it's a tool, indeed. But as for me, it has an impact on your system, but also on your process flow and so on. So that's also what you said. It's not like, it's a PDF, no, it's digitalized. No, perhaps you will change your process. So you have to understand it, but at the same time, I explained we have some tests with AI agent. There it's really the machine that will take some decision. So in my mind, it's not exactly the same, but that's a bit like a new team member. So what does it mean in an organization? When you have a newcomer, you have to present the newcomer, you discuss how the team is working, how we will interact. And so for me, if you don't pay attention to all these aspects, you can do wrong choice and you have wrong and bad implementation.
Yeah, for me, I would say when I think about AI, then it's kind of the skill I see. It's almost like it seems the opposite, but it's not for me, which is getting your hands dirty, I could say. So it's even more important today with AI to do that still, to be on field, to see things for yourself, to experiment and not stop at the superficial level just because you can get the answers in front of your laptop, for example. That's a bit the risk I see, and so the skill that we all have to develop, I think, it's to still be out there. I think of design, so that's why I'm bringing this particular example. But go out there, speak to customers still, like don't rely too much only on AI assisting you and you have done the job. Still be on the field, really talking to people as well, and then bring that back and create something smart within your company, build processes. I fully agree with that. But you have to be out there first. Otherwise, it's not going to be successful as it should be. You cannot just stay in front of the screen. That's what I see of it happening sometimes.
Yeah, I think when it comes to using AI in your daily job, it's really about critical thinking. Keep questioning what the AI does and not be happy just with the results, but indeed keep questioning also the fact that it's just the best possible information with the information and data that the AI has that you are getting, and not knowledge is just a processed set of probabilities. And when you develop AI tools, I think empathy is still a very critical skill, because you need to consider definitely in the public service who you are designing it for. Are you excluding anyone? Are you being ethical enough with the results of it? And also internally with the people that have to use the tool and employee with public administration, are they ready to do the jump? Are they do they have the right skills? So empathy for me stays one of the critical human skills that you need to even more exercise in the age of AI.
Thank you. So we see a lot of tensions in complex environments. So that ensures for the future a very continuing and interesting conversation. So there is, we named the tension. We talked about the expertise, the human aspect of this transformation, and how the cost that's going to come of moving too fast, or the problem with data. And with all these elements, we need to take decisions. We need to lead. And that's our third topic of today. That might be the harder question now. It's how can we be a leader? What kind of leadership do we need in this time? And I've seen this topic a lot around in talks, in a lot of decks and strategies and everything. So that is out there. But we talk a lot about how leaders must be. I'd like to explore what leaders must do to be a good leader, to have that responsibility matter in hands. And so, yeah, Maite, let's start with you with my question, to see what it requires to be a good leader, a responsible leader. Let's qualify that. You're building infrastructure, processes, governance, you name it all. So what does it take to be responsible?
So I think, as you say, there also empathy is really important with the team, the leader. So for the responsibility I feel is to accompany them, because in fact they will keep the expertise also. And I was explaining, we use AI today to automate some processes and documentation, but it gives us more time to have qualitative discussion, better understand what we are doing, discuss together. So it's really important for me to have empathy and to respect the team, because they have the knowledge and they are the foundation. So I will say accompany them and also be really good in change management. Sometimes I feel that in big company, people say, we have a project, we want to implement it, but they often forget the change management part. And for me, it's really the most important, to discuss with people, to propose what you want to change and challenge it, because they also have really good idea. So, and in big group, we are used to reorganization changes, but this one will be certainly, I hope it will be the biggest one, because I don't know what can come after AI, but it will be big as a change in our organization. So for me, it's really paying attention to to accompany team and so to have a deep change management there, to avoid to break people, and also it's important for the implementation to keep the engagement and the motivation of the teams.
Yeah, they will need people to do so.
Indeed.
So hearing about them might sound like a very good idea. Thank you. Clementina, so there is a lot of process as well on your side, and that sounds sometimes, administrative thing, it sounds very abstract for a lot of people. So how does that happen in your field?
Yeah, if we talk about good leadership in the age of AI in the public sector, again, I think it's a matter of having a good strategy behind it, and also be clear on what you are not going to use AI for. Because definitely when coming back to the same ethical issues, there was this use case in the Netherlands where they used AI to spot a bit like a risk assessment, the people that were more likely to fraud to get benefits. And afterwards they found out that actually they were socially profiling people with other migration background, and that they were targeted by this algorithm. So this is a very eclatant case, but of course it's like it raises the bar of ethics for the public sector very high, because again we are dealing with public services and with people that need to access these services, and if we are not careful, we might hurt or damage people. And so as a leader, you need to be very, very cautious about that and be clear about what you are not gonna use AI for.
So clear. And what kind of behavior does that create for the leader?
Yeah, I guess it's a very clear strategy and a very clear ethical compass, guided also with the help of regulation, of course, but also again empathy and understanding your data as well. Sometimes in this case, for example, it's a bit like a long time ago already in the US, they were using this software to predict whether a person was more likely to commit another crime, and Black people were like 10 times more likely, according to the algorithm, to commit another crime. But it's because the historical data said that in the past, Black people were more incarcerated. But it's not because they were committing more crimes, it's because they were discriminated. So if the data is biased in the first place, the result of your algorithm is going to be biased. And by putting the attention on what am I putting into AI and is it ethical in the first place, that's, I think, again, critical thinking and empathy. That's what I'm expecting of leadership nowadays.
Thank you. And Beatrice, so human experiences and behavior are at the core of your team. So about the leadership then, what is it about, the best behavior?
Yeah, as you said, for me, human, it's a big component. It goes in different direction, keeping the customer centricity. So not only in how we lead the team, but also where do we bring the team towards, what is the goal that we have as a team, and what is the role of AI in that. Still, I see customer centricity there higher up, first of all, and maybe you mentioned that before. I see it as a tool. I see it as an enabler of processes, but still to enable customer centricity. That's my first biggest value ever, always. I come from design. I studied user centricity in all different perspectives. And I really want to stress that towards my team members, towards my stakeholders, my colleagues as well. So I think that should not be compromised in how we bring on the leadership when it comes to AI era, and of course in how we manage people as well, because how do you push and how do you let's say encourage people to adopt AI in a responsible way, in a healthy way as well, that we keep the human component, but also with a tangible goal, which is anyway there are customers at the end of the road, right? They want to be served in a certain way, knowing that yes, there is a smart company in front of you, but still that there are humans that will help you at the end of the line if AI doesn't arrive fully there for you. So if it's not reflected entirely within the team way of working, I don't see it happening for the customer either. So
Yeah, a very good end word for this conversation. Even though I have a last question, before we open up to your question, there might be, probably sure there is at least one person here tonight that is overwhelmed and does not say it like really out loud because this person is really good at their job, very good, but it's going so fast and there is so many information that, okay, how can we help this person? If you can share one thing each, just to help this person to process or just something about the mindset, I would be very happy to listen to you.
When I start, I have the mic. I would say like focus back again on what's your added value as a person, like what is the skill that you bring on the table in your work, in your life even. And then I think AI comes after. Once you identify that clearly for yourself, like what am I good at, what am I passionate about, you will find some kind of AI support for that. I'm sure there's so much out there that if you look and you dig into it, or you can even create it for yourself to support better that skill that you want to push forward. So that's where I would start, not really with the tool, but rather with yourself and with your passions first.
Thank you. Very valuable.
Yeah, it's just very linked. So maybe indeed, if not with a passion, you can always start with a problem. I started using AI because I started working in the government, and my Dutch is very basic. By now a bit better, but when I started it was very basic. And it's a fantastic tool to write text in a language that you don't know. So my problem was accessing that language, and I used it in that way. And I think when you also design applications that use AI, starting with the why and starting with the problem is probably a good attitude. You start with the real problem, and then you start thinking, okay, how can AI help me with that? Instead of being overwhelmed by all the possibilities, focus on the specific possibilities that can mean a lot for you or your project.
Thank you.
A bit the same for me, but if you do not have problem, you can just take a step back and think about what is your objective and your priorities, and just things how AI can support you to reach your goal faster.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And maybe just last thing.
Go ahead, please.
Here, we heard today a lot of examples from very different sectors of people that are trying to do the same thing. Also, don't be shy to go out and reach out for best practices from other domains. I think it would be interesting, for example, to have an exchange because, the risk there are a lot of things that come back all the time. And I think a more cross-sector collaboration and sharing knowledge would be very beneficial.
Good. Create connections here. It's very beautiful. So now it's on you. Oh. We were very lucky with these three ladies as I presented tonight, and you are now lucky to ask questions. So please go ahead. I'm gonna give you the mic. Who wants to start?
Thank you. Hi, I'm Marion Robert. We kind of met, but separately. The question is the following. So maybe I'm going a little bit outside from the work environment, but it's a question that I'm actually asking my customers, and I realize they're absolutely not ready to hear it. You tackled a bit of that you Maite, that you need to think about the 360 view, so that it's not just a tool. You mentioned the agent as a team member, and my question is the following. How in banking, in telco, and in government do you already prepare or not for the machine customer? And here my question is the following. What do I mean by machine customer? Is that the person you're designing for is not actually a human being, but it's an agent. You know, as a person, I don't want to go and to Proximus shop or whatever shop and find. Just ask my agent to do it for me and buy it for me. And the same in the bank. How can I find the bank who has the best investment for me? And so is that a topic that you are thinking about in terms of preparing for actually like not just a human but an agent of a human? connecting with your different verticals?
I can start with it. For the government, that's a dream. Meaning, we always, because we always talk about proactive service delivery. This idea that if you have rights to a certain benefit because you have a child, that you don't have to ask it anymore. So the idea that an agent can check your credentials and see, okay, you have a child and your child is getting sick, so you can get the benefit. For us, I think it will be the dream. Now, what it needs to happen for that is, of course, what we call government as a platform. Is a bit of a hype, but that means that your infrastructure is made in a way that you have components and credentials that can be reused also by private sector. So, for example, if you have a company that needs to check if you have a driver license, that your driver license credential is open for also private parties to use. But that requires, of course, a completely different digital infrastructure. But we are already thinking about it and having a discussion on how to go that way.
But not the agent from the work, but the agent
from the
customer.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that requires a digital infrastructure that connects the right data with the right agent. That's what I'm saying. And the infrastructure needs to be open enough and modular enough to allow this kind of capability. Yeah. There is a beautiful, it's very government oriented, but there is a beautiful book called Platform Land that speaks specifically in the public service about this concept. So I really recommend it.
Yeah, I'm thinking for Proximus, in my team we take care especially of enterprises customer, which if you look at it, it's even more likely that we will have those type of digital or synthetic customers coming in. It's not yet in the picture, to be honest. We deal a lot with people in the companies that get in contact with us and ask for support and open a ticket, and they have issues retrieving the invoices and things like this, you know, very basic problems, but very, very real one as well. I think though, because we're building now something that is really will be supporting the enterprises customer, also powered by AI. So that's in work in progress, I would say, but it has to be something we take into account to make it future-proof already. Maybe it's not the reality now, today, but it will become very shortly, probably. But again, we need the infrastructure for that to support it, also the systems, the right tools to do it, because right now we're kind of still thinking based on what a human will ask and how can AI support. I think it's a very smart question. We're not fully there yet, I have the feeling, especially if you look at telco, it's not that advanced, I'm afraid. But it's a really good simile, so I'm gonna kind of take notes mentally and bring it back, you know.
Yeah, that echoes a bit the last release of Cloud with the dispatch last week. Now it's in the hands of anybody, actually. So that's also the opportunity to give a focus on more the team inside and not the human outside. That might be interesting for that angle as well. But that was my 2 cents.
And for, if I address only the customer point of view, it's the same, we are not yet there. And I think the tricky part of the challenge is also because to automate it, we are speaking about personal data, we have a lot of regulation there. So we are not yet there for sure, because indeed in credit sector, you have to give so much that personal data, financial data and so on, they are really protected. But we did some tests with open banking. But it's not yet automated. You know, you have the acceptance. So we trust on the government. No, but I think but the challenge is to get the data and to have a fluent way to integrate it in our system. So we have quite good tests with open banking, but you are at the beginning because it's tricky for GDPR regulation, that kind of stuff. The flow is not so fluent because you need the agreement in between and so on. And where we are also feeling some challenges to, and that's why I was speaking about the government, when we have to identify the person. So
that's what,
yes, so I have some people in my family who really dislike the EID and so on, they say they will have all the data about us. Okay, it's a point of view. Nevertheless, I think that kind of solution could help. And I'm not working, I'm in a subsidiary of BNP, so I hope that BNP is in it, but you know, that's like, it's me. It was created by the big banks, also, I'm not sure, I think there are some link also with government and so on, but so I think the solution will come there, but they are not easy to implement, because you need to have government, big institutions to be aligned. There are also certainly some political issue, or everybody wants to get the advantage to be part of that kind of project, and really the part of the regulation of the data. It doesn't help, but hopefully we spoke about ethics and what we do with data, hopefully it's there. So,
yeah. There are good examples in India already, where they actually use a lot of data stack, and they actually allow also the citizen to decide with whom are you sharing those data, for example. So you are the owner of a data class, it's called, like a data collection, and you decide in each moment with whom are you willing to share those data. But these data are again all modular, and then that allows the same data to be reused in different infrastructure, and to be able to achieve agentic self-service, you need to have all those data in place, and you need for them to be modular enough to be reused in different services. But indeed, the tension will always be how safe we also need. I mean, for certain services, it's going to be a no-brainer. For other services where GDPR and other sensitive data are at stake, it's going to be probably more difficult.
Wow. Nice first question. Thank you for your answer. Who wants to follow? No, that was a joke, but thank you very much for that. I did not expect anything else from you.
Thanks a lot for all the insights. You are all using AI, you are mentioning AI agents or chatbots or coding helpers and so on. This means that this is all a model behind, and we know that almost all models are coming from US. And when you focus on the data aspect of it, it's like there's a big bias in the data, it's not representing everyone equally and so on. And especially for the government, that should be super sensitive, which kind of models you use, and how you validate. And there are discussions like the synthetic data might not always represent the reality, which is super challenging to create such a data. I will be curious, how do you validate the trust or the fairness of the decisions or the answers you are getting from those tools? Or are you focusing on maybe using Europe-based models like Mistral and so on?
Is it directed to one in particular? One in particular? Okay. I guess it's an ongoing discussion, of course. So far, of course, there were different models available, and I think every tool and project have used the model that best fits the specific requirements of the project. But there are ongoing discussions within the government to indeed digital sovereignty and how do we achieve that. So there is that aspect that is being discussed, but as you can imagine, it's a full IT stack that needs to be slowly replaced and changed, so it doesn't take, it's gonna take a while. And as to your question about the auditing, I think there, again, the role of the human and definitely the role of the designer is really important. There is more and more the focus on digital inclusion and inclusion, so we are trying to bring this perspective more and more in public services and trying to understand in a more considerate way who you are designing for, but also who you are excluding from what you do. And trying to bring that into perspective from the beginning of a project or a trajectory, and also when you do auditing, for example, how do you impact different target groups that you have identified, and definitely the specific target groups that are more
vulnerable, so people that do not have access, for example, to digital infrastructure. And we follow that also very closely with the Digimeter. Is a sort of a yearly representative survey that tries to understand the digital matureness of the Flemish population, the use of AI that they do, the trust in AI, and the trust in the government using digital. So we try to, on one hand, keep an eye on those kind of aspects via this tool, and then, whenever possible, do research with people and try indeed to understand that your target group is as diverse as it can be, and managing the expectation also in that sense.
So I guess someone is checking the models to see like which type of data it's trained on, because like you can create your own data set with like as a fair and great data set, but the models you are using is biased.
Yeah, it's more like the projects that I've seen are more like they use data that are actually already public data. So, for example, the model that defines whether you need, whether you can have a permit to build extra extension of your house or not, for example, and that's defined by data that is public accessible to everyone. So there is little bias, I think, because it's just geographical data and then data based on what you own and what you have. When it becomes more risky is when we go into the field of frauding and this risk assessment. There it's much more complicated, but I think because of the EU AI Act, we are just avoiding those applications to cool. We are just not going there because it's way too sensitive and ethically risky.
Yeah, I'm glad that we have the AI Acts in Europe, that there are prohibited use cases, high-risk use cases that you cannot even start implementing it. But to me, it's all like, it's the end goal that you should be careful. But still, for me, the question of the models itself on how to evaluate which kind of data it was trained on is still a bit tricky.
Yeah, I think there are certain data sets that are more objectives than others. I don't know how to say it better than that, but if we look at geographical data, there is very little bias in there from the start, I would say. When it starts entailing personal data, income, there it becomes already a more risky water.
Yeah, and that becomes political.
Yeah, indeed, but it can. I mean, we see that a lot of HR departments are also doing some kind of automated CV filtering and so on, those kind of things with such models without really understanding if it's penalizing a gender or the background and so on. So for me, it's super interesting to see like how the data itself is being handled.
But according to the EU AI Act, that's not allowed. So there we are, at least in the public sector, very strict about what we can and cannot do.
Thanks.
I don't know if you...
Thank you. That was a very good question. That was a... No, that was not funny. Okay. Who wants to ask another question?
I do have one.
Here you go.
Thank you. Thank you all ladies, it was very interesting. I have maybe another kind of question for you. So you're very humanistic in the way you talk. So really looking to team, looking human, empathy. So I really like that. So it's really a mind message in a way. So I would like to extend a bit like an ideation in a way, and that's the things I'm using in some facilitation workshops. I would like to ask you what would look like a dystopia and utopia in this new world for you. So if we look into an extension of 2030, what could be for you a team in utopia and in dystopia? Also the team for you as a government.
Next time we ask you first. At the beginning of the... so we have...
Grandpa.
It's a difficult question, to be honest. So to make sure I understand it fully, when you say it, what I imagine, I give you the first image in my brain, is like, in the future, will my team be not only people in the room, but really that we hire or we have team members that are really inside a machine, so they're robots or whatever you want to call those. It's interesting. It's no, it's really interesting, and it's how I see, in a way, AI being embedded in the way we collaborate already with the tools that we use today. We don't treat them, let's say, as team members entirely, but they are the hidden entity in the room sometimes, and kind of more often than before. So I think that will happen more and more. It's like it's almost the example that they were using many years ago of the empty chair for the customer in the room, you know, like the famous example for Amazon and many other companies. Probably that will become the empty chair for the AI present in the room. That's really normally how I see it. So you just want to, like what I said before, now we try to double check always, like we ran through the information and what we want to put out there through AI just to check what is the response from AI. Is AI giving me extra ideas that I didn't have before? Can I go further thanks to the collaboration? Can I build better processes thanks to the collaboration? So honestly, I see that happening as an opportunity, not per se as a threat, and it's highly possible. It's really highly possible.
Yes, for me, I think it's a bit the same. In the utopia way, I'm hoping that people won't put their engagement and motivation, because for me, I'm really passionate, and that's really what drives me to go to work every day. And it continues to be pleasant to change. So I'm okay to change and to embrace change, but it has to be with a vision, motivating, and so on. So as you said, perhaps if it could enhance what we can do, but always thinking about what is the mission of our company and how we can serve it and do it with the team. And so I hope we won't lose too much people, because for me it will be a big change. Yes, and yes, the bad vision I could have is yes, that we will in fact standardize everything, because like you, I'm in IT, it's more pragmatic, more process, but I really like to work with people, and we work in Agile, and I come from business, and what I like is really when IT can serve the business and to have that kind of discussion. But my scope is risk and support, so it's finance. Risk can be a bit dry, you know. I was used to work in a mobile team, it's more customer focused, and then you can quickly jump on something a bit standardized without added value, and then that's where you lose people, the engagement and motivation. And to have an honest talk, we all know that we have savings economy, budget economy. We have stakeholders who want to continue to receive more money, and that kind of constraints, yes, sometimes can drive us to do bad choices, and we won't do it.
Yeah.
I'll start with the utopia. If I think about public administration, for me the utopia is indeed not having to ask for services or subsidies anymore, but that you just get it. If I more think about policy making, a more data-driven policy making. AI is really good at making sense of a lot of big data, and nowadays policy making is data informed, but still struggles with big data or having the full picture, and what it really means to implement a policy and having the impact calculated in the risk. So the utopia I see is really data-driven policy making that can adapt also to a very fast-changing society. Dystopia is less related to the government, but I read recently this thing of this very interesting reflection on the fact that AI is smart now because it's based on the knowledge we have built up to now as a humanity. But if we continue using AI to also produce knowledge, the knowledge will just extinguish. So we will have to keep building knowledge. So the worst nightmare is that we extinguish the knowledge for me, and that we keep running on data that are not relevant anymore, or knowledge that is not up to date Yeah.
Let me chip in with two ideas. There is the human factor, of course. We will consider at one point these machines for what they are, machines. Now it's still a bit confusing. Some people use that as a coach or a therapist or something. At one point, it's gonna stop in a way or another.
Or a lover.
You see little kids, you see little kids, those who were born into this era of AI, they will consider that as a machine, not as a human, like we can be confused about. So that can help us. A lot of hopes in the coming generations. And also, the craving for other human beings, because the machines will be everywhere. So more communication, more connections, opportunity. And also something that I see that is already happening now. Before you use a machine, you need to know what this machine is supposed to what's the output. So what is it? So show your colors before we use it. Now it's still a bit blurry. We don't really define ethics. We don't really define who said what, the database thing. At one point, we're going to have to say, okay, I'm going to work with this one because that's how they build it. And that's the kind of answer we are looking for. So,
I wanted to add just one small thing because I was thinking of the dystopia image in my mind. I gave more of the positive, and I think it kind of connects to what you said, Maite, that it's ending up alone, like all of us alone. That's my biggest fear. Not really.
With
like,
the phone
and actually you see it reading articles and what's happening out there, especially in the younger generations. They dialogue a lot with AI alone, even about feelings, emotions. It's not the psychologist anymore. It's asking AI, how should I handle the situation and why am I acting this way? Can you give me feedback? Even if I can mention it, porn is becoming AI driven. There's so many aspects to it that it's out of control for me from a human perspective. That's kind of scary. So if I see the dystopia, it's people alone in a room talking to a machine.
If I can add more on a positive note, in our discussion that we had for the preparation of this panel, I mentioned the architectural studio from the 70s, an Italian architectural studio, Super Studio, they were called. They were very visionary, and at a certain point they actually visualized the city where one level was for work and one level was for fun. And that's for me the utopia of AI. We just give all the boring work to AI and we just have more fun and more creative
time. No one said more time. It's taking time from us.
But it's doing arts. We are doing the housework, right? So at the moment, it should switch at some point.
Yeah, but that's utopia.
Yeah. There's a good one.
So I received the final sign that we are going to end. Subtle. So thank you very much for coming, for being inactive. I heard a lot of reactions while we were having this discussion. It was very pleasant. Thank you, three of you ladies. It was very. Always. Oh, yay!
Thank you so much for everything as well. Like, thank you so much for preparing everything. It was really fun to do it together. And sorry, I've just cut through.
Good, go ahead.
You carry on. No. I just really want to thank you because it was a lot of our time, your time, but it was really interesting to have all your different perspectives and points of views. And I thought it was really interesting. I don't know what you thought. So thank you, everyone.
I will just close with an invitation to get a glass and maybe another conversation. There's a lot of food, so please come and drink.